Are Muslims more right-wing or left-wing politically? Is it possible to categorize Islam in the right-left spectrum? I see a lot of YouTubers now, usually in the alt-right and the right-wing side, sort of talking to Muslims and appealing to Muslims and making this and that claim about Islam and Marxism, Islam and capitalism and so on. So I wanted to answer this question in this video. And yes, it's possible to categorize Islam and Muslims in general on the right-left spectrum, although there is a variety. And the interesting thing was that when I thought about this question, I immediately knew where I think Muslims end up in the right-left spectrum. And then I looked at the statistics. The statistics were very one-sided on the issue. They clearly showed one particular answer. So the first thing to explain is that Islam for Muslims is the teaching of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This ideology, if you will, goes above all other ideologies. So a Muslim will not subscribe to socialism or capitalism or liberalism above Islam, usually for most cases. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam goes first. Quran and Sunnah goes first. And any political ideology is secondary to this deen or religion or dharma in sort of Sanskrit. That teaching goes first. This means that Muslims generally, compared to Western people, will have more distance to an ideology. Muslims will have more distance to a certain party. Muslims will rarely be fanatical about the right or the left, rarely so attached to a particular side that they don't listen to the other side, or so almost worshipping being liberal, like liberalism is now my religion, being conservative as conservatism is now my religion, being socialist so much that socialism is my religion. Muslims will rarely do that. It will be more like what party is closest to how I view Islam or how I think the world should be, and it will be some kind of compromise. But yes, there is a general place where Muslims end up. So I would generally categorize it as Muslims can be right-wing in certain issues, left-wing in other issues. Usually Muslims tend to be traditionalists or religiously conservative when it comes to issues like social issues, family, men and women roles in the family, children, LGBTQ, homosexuality. The Sharia is very clear on those kinds of issues. But when it comes to economic side, Muslims are generally more towards the left. And that is the answer. Muslims are generally more towards left-wing than right-wing. Muslims are generally more left-wing than right-wing. So I don't know what the hell Hamza Yusuf is talking about. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Or, Pearson or, Elliot Hustle and all of these right-wing people. That's not Islam. I don't know any Muslim who votes for the right-wing party. Every Muslim I know in Sweden, from all over, we have many Iraqis, Syrians, Iranis, Afghanis, Somalis. They all vote one version or another of a left-wing party. Muslims, Gambian, Senegalese in Sweden, most of them are Sufis. They all vote for different left-wing parties. This was my sort of gut feeling. My family is very strongly left-wing in the socialist tradition. Then I looked at the statistics. The statistics are very clear. In Sweden, 75% of Muslims vote for a green or a left alternative. Only 14-15% vote for the right wing and the rest in the middle. In America, 66% of Muslims vote for Democrats. 13% vote for the Republicans. So Muslims are more like 5 times as likely to vote for the Democrats than the Republicans. And many also are undecided or neutral. So, and if you look at Muslim countries here, many Muslim countries and leaders have been socialist. Gaddafi, a very beloved leader of Libya, was socialist. Even this Pan-African movement with Assad, Saddam Hussein, and all of this not Pan-African, Pan-Arabist movement is socialist, Marxist influenced. So many of these leaders are socialists. Even in the black consciousness movement, if you look at someone like Nation of Islam, Louis Farrakhan is very socialist leaning. He even said that in one of his talks. The Black Panther Party was more socialist. If you look at the Pan-African thinkers like Kwame Nkrumah, he was a socialist. Big Pan-African thinker. Nelson Mandela also socialist. So it's definitely left-wing. Now, when I say left-wing, I mean the real, original, economic, socialist left-wing, not the strawman left, like the right likes to talk about now, woke culture or LGBTQ and all of these strawmans that the right-wing talk. We talk about left in terms of socialist, this collective type of state ownership, collective ownership over resources, rather than private ownership and private capitalism. This kind of left wing is very obvious. And what's the reason for this? Is because solidarity is one of the core values of the left. Something I've noticed that Western people have very difficult time understanding the core socialist value, which is essentially solidarity. Now, this solidarity can take many different forms, and people get stuck on Mao Zedong or Stalin and all of these strawmans, but it is essentially, and Russians know this, Ukrainians know this, the East Europeans know this, the Chinese know this, the Vietnamese know this, many in Latin America know this, in Arab world, in Africa, we know what solidarity is. It's brotherhood, it's empathy. It's Rahman, Rahim, Ghafur, that you help other people. Muslims are very helpful, they're heartful people. Helping the poor, it's one of the 5 pillars, zakat, to give charity to the poor. But zakat is more than that, it is to care about your brother who is weak or in a difficult position. In Africa, if you're weak, people help you. So it's a very collective, solidaric, sort of helping culture. Islam, everywhere I go in the world, the same with, many Syrians who come to Sweden, they have this, please help me, very much this solidaric, compassionate, interbeing, like in Buddhism, solidaric worldview where we help each other out. Capitalism is to a very large degree not compatible at all with Islam. This idea of only me, only myself, I can own a company and do whatever the hell I want with it, and to hell with nature, to hell with other people. I don't care if other people are poor. I'm gonna justify it and gaslight them and say that they didn't try hard enough. It's meritocracy bullshit. Remind all the capitalists who somehow think that Muslims are capitalists. Know that if you look at the wealth inequality of the world, I'm an economist, very clear. Know that some of the most poor countries are Muslim. So Muslims are often very poor. They have tasted poverty. So arguing for a system that creates poverty like capitalism is not very strong argument for the Muslim world. So Muslims are definitely more leaning towards socialism than capitalism or right-wing politics. But in some issues, Muslims can be more conservative, and some they can be more liberal, depending also if it's Sufi or Salafi and so on. So there is a flexibility, there's a distance to the ideology. Muslims can be pro-monarchy, for example. Myself, I like monarchy and this aristocracy, and that people are sort of born with different skills. So not this extreme kind of socialism or far left communism where there is no gender, everyone is equal, there is no culture, everything is a social product. Those kinds of far left Muslim will generally not agree with. We are born with different skills, different lineages, tribes, religions, etc. to Allah, to serve Allah. But there is definitely mercy, compassion, solidarity, helping the poor, a part of zakat, one of the 5 pillars. And an egoistic system that spoils the planet and assumes that me as an individual, I'm separate from everything around me. That is not compatible with Islam. It's not compatible with Tasawwuf. And I would also argue it's not compatible with Buddhism. Why many Buddhist countries like Vietnam and China are also toward the socialist side. Hopefully this video is helpful. Peace.